Let me applaud the United Nations in the passage of the UN Security Council Resolution 2250, which was passed in 2015, which is the first resolution fully recognizing the important and positive role that young women and men play in maintaining and promoting international peace and security. The AU, through its Agenda 2063, seeks to remove all forms of systematic inequalities, exploitation, marginalization, and discrimination of young people to ensure that youth issues are mainstream in all development agendas. We must be aware that Africa is youthful. Harnessing this demographic dividend presents an opportunity to build the resilience of young people and address the root causes of many of the key challenges facing Africa: violent extremism, radicalization, and forced migration. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot ignore the frantic efforts of the AU in the implementation of the African Youth Charter, which seeks to remove structural barriers that prevent or limit young people's active engagement in peace and security processes, governance, economic growth, and development. However, still more needs to be done to bridge the gap between policies and plans and practical impact. I am of the opinion that strong partnerships, particularly between the AU and UN, are vital to support and complement member states' efforts to engage the youth in implementation of Agenda 2063 and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Youth in Africa is often perceived as the main perpetrator of political violence, social unrest, and violent extremism. Popular protests across the continent are often explained by the socio-economic and political marginalization of youth. Likewise, the surge in the proliferation of arms and violent extremism in the past 15 years also tends to be associated with the political and socio-economic disaffection of young men and increasingly young women. While young people are particularly susceptible to violence and crime, they are also disproportionately burdened by social and economic insecurities and are often victims of violence, political unrest, and terrorism themselves. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Africa has been perceived as a theater of social and political instability, which has often led in the past to numerous outbreaks of armed conflicts. The large majority of our African countries, Liberia being a major example, have experienced intrastate conflicts marked by large scale of civil war. I have read several studies revealing the conditions of vulnerability under which the youth live represents a driving factor for radicalization and their ultimate involvement in undermining peace and security. It is clear that youth are key agents for change, without whom the success of the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development and the African Union's Agenda 2063 would be unachievable. I have never lost hope in the future of our youth across Africa. It was the youth in Liberia who made conscious decision to pursue the path of peace and reject the path of violence, which eventually provided political stability in Liberia for the last 15 years. Today, Liberia experiences the proliferation of various youth organizations under the umbrella of the Federation of Liberian Youth FLY and the Liberian National Students Union LINSU, with an agenda to contribute to Liberia's peace and economic development, which is a clear manifestation of the famous mantra, not too young to lead. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm of the opinion that youth organizations should begin to form synergies across the continent. Organizations like the Pan-African Youth Union, PYU, the Pan-African Youth Leadership Foundation, PALEF, and the All Africa Student Union, AASU, should create the necessary international platforms in encouraging greater participation and cooperation among youth organizations to engender a spirit of leadership. The African Union, the AU, must initiate processes to ensure that the young people of Africa are fully involved in decision-making processes and should hold their leaders accountable for policy decisions. I have never been so optimistic than I am today, given the accelerating wave of interest being showcased by everyone in this room. The quest to have the youth of Africa at the center stage of leadership. We have a call. Our ability is to answer the call, to answer this call, which gives our generation hope, and our testimonies will remain unchangeable. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first allow me to observe the protocols and observe the presence of Her Excellency Ambassador Mariam, the representative of the Vice President of Liberia, the ECOWAS Ambassador, distinguished personalities who have been invited, our own youth power, Mr. Panjai, present here, representative from South Africa Foundation, Africell Gambia, the chairman of the Gambian National Youth Council also present here, representatives from government, civil society organizations, representatives, the private sector representatives present here, our distinguished delegates from across the continent and beyond, representatives of youth organizations invited, and our friends from the media. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all. This afternoon, I am being surprisingly invited to give the welcoming statement. But before welcoming the delegates, and of course our distinguished invited guests, allow me first to appreciate the work of Pan-African Youth Leadership Team, who are the reasons why we are here today. Because in my native tongue, we will say, ni boy de sano tombong, kana jibe sano tombong daming, bari boy mi takita dame jibe. If you hit your toe and fall down and pick a goal, don't only look at where you pick the goal, but look back at where you hit your toe to understand why you fall down. So if we are here today to celebrate the African youth, but celebrate young people worldwide, it is important and also in place to appreciate the work of these distinguished young people who have taken their time, their energy and resources to put together this important summit. So I want to request that we put our hands together for the leadership and the management team of Pan-African Youth Leadership Summit for this important convergence. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, leadership had been one of the most talked about traits, not only in our schools, but I will say in the contemporary African development. You go to the private sector, we talk about leadership. You go to the public sector, we are talking about leadership. You go to the civil society, we are also talking about the leadership. But what actually constitutes leadership? But not just leadership, but that good ethical leadership still continue to elude us. It's our responsibility not just to talk about leadership, but to go further to dissect and interrogate what it contains, what it means for us today and for the future. And that will require not just us, the young ones, to come together and discuss about young people and about their leadership. But it's critical that we are able to engage the older generation in such an intergenerational platform so that we can benefit from what has passed, that's history. We could discuss what is obtained today, and we can agree on consensus what we hope to achieve in future. And that has to do, for us as young people, to validate and confirm the theme for this important conference, which is not too young to lead. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would say that this event is quite relevant and timely. It is timely bringing young people world over to the smiling coast of Africa to award and appreciate their contribution towards the development of their communities and societies. But again, it is timely because as we gather in this hall, we have world leaders meeting in New York on the United Nations General Assembly to not only discuss about the present, but also the future. But the future they are talking about cannot be in a vacuum. It must be provided with a genuine, sincere leadership. And that is not just for them, but it's also for us. It is also quite timely as African Union, the African countries, as we go into October, are planning to have the Africa Youth Connect in Rwanda, which is also calling on young people to look at South-South cooperation, learn from our Pan-African models of development, and to inspire hope and change in our young people. And having such an important appreciation of youth leadership to prepare young minds to ensure they network and also connect with their colleagues in other parts of the continent and elsewhere is indeed apt and timely. But again, I want to remind you, in November, the world is coming to Africa for the ICPD 25 in Nairobi, which is ensuring that young people are able to complete or add their voices to the unfinished businesses of ICPD. All these are events that us, the young people, must not only take responsibility, but we must be seen to provide leadership because we are not too young to lead. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would say this event is quite relevant to us Gambian young people and Gambia as government because it is in line with the National Development Plan of this country. The strategic priority 7 of our National Development Plan 2018-2021 speaks volumes of youth empowerment. And we cannot talk about youth empowerment when we only continue to highlight the negative: youth unemployment, youths and drugs, youth migration, and you name them. It's important that we reflect that aside those negatives, we also have the positives. I mean, young people who are making tremendously well in their communities, serving as role models, providing mentoring and coaching to their siblings and their youngest, but of course providing leadership in their communities in different community initiatives, not only in the Gambia, in Africa, but also in the diaspora. Recognizing them will provide us an opportunity to show the younger ones that they have people that they can look up to. And of course, that can engineer positive change. It's important we all realize that our role as young people is a transit. That we were younger than this as children. Today we are youth, and for sure we'll become old people someday. So making best use of this time is critical. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Gambia National Youth Council and on behalf of the Gambia government, I want to thank the organizers for choosing the Gambia, the smiling coast of Africa. Gambia continues to be one place that welcomes not only our brothers and sisters from Africa, but continue to be a haven for young people and humanity all over the world. Gambia is equally the capital city of youth development in Africa. Of course, we will always reference the African Youth Charter, and it was born in this country in 2006. It was not only because the African Youth Charter was born here, but we have the African Commission on Human and People's Rights right here. And in 2016, we also hosted the Banjul Plus 10, which was the 10th year anniversary of the African Youth Charter, to review the progress on the implementation of this important continental document. And in 2019, we also hosted the Pan-African Youth Conference, third Pan-African Youth Conference. These are all platforms we created to get young people all over the continent to come over to their homeland, that is the Gambia. So welcome to the Gambia, welcome to the smiling coast of Africa, and we all effort together. If we can vote, we can lead also. Thank you very much.
Presentation of the Lifetime Award to the Vice President of the Republican Library.
Including myself, Mr. Nkudu Sabali, who has been very supportive of the young people and youth initiatives of the Gambia, our guests and youth leaders from a different part of the continent. We welcome you to the Gambia, and we hope that after this event you will have time to at least visit the place and know the reason why we say Gambia is indeed the smiling coast of West Africa. And to every other young person present here today, we welcome you all, and we hope that by the end of today, or by the end of this session, we'll learn one or two things from our journey and some of the challenges that we have faced as youth leaders, and some of the things that we feel might inspire you towards your journey on leadership. So, as Jennifer mentioned, Fatou Dieng, former president of the University of the Gambia Students' Union, and now the program coordinator of that Africa Foundation. I'll say this, I'm basically the youngest person in a management position at that Africa Foundation. And something that, I mean, when people usually say that, or the older generation don't give young people the chance or the opportunity to unleash their talents and potentials, I wouldn't basically say that, because I basically feel that when I was given this role, I was not given that because of my age, but because of the competence or what they saw in me as a youth leader. And thank you very much, Mr. Msmanga, for believing in me and believing in many young people in the Gambia. To give you, to talk about my leadership journey, especially at the University of the Gambia. So, for over 17 years, all the leadership positions, especially presidency, have been handled by males. It is still a male-dominated position. But in 2018, I was voted in as the first female president of the University of the Gambia Students' Union. This is indeed groundbreaking, and it shows that leadership is not only meant to be for guys, but it's supposed to be given based on competence, expertise, and the knowledge that we have as far as leadership is concerned. So I have been handling leadership position throughout my life, because when I was in my primary school, I used to serve as the head girl of Albion Basic School. And in my junior school, I also served as the head girl of St. Augustine Junior School. And when we were in high school, Jefferson and I were part of the final nominees for the position of head girl at Musa Senior Secondary School. But she won me, she was really strong. Yes. Yeah, so leadership is something that I really believe that it's not only meant for a larger part of the society, the older side of the society, but it is something that we feel that as young people, which dominate the majority of our society, which is we form over 65% of the population of the Gambia, we really have something to bring to the table. We really have something that we feel will be very significant to the development of the country. And when I was going in for this, I had one motivation, I had one inspiration, that I am going to go and change the dynamics. And we have a paradigm shift at the University of the Gambia, for them to know that women are not only meant to be at home or be housewives and do domestic chores, but we have more to bring to the table as far as development is concerned. So it wasn't really an easy journey, to be honest with you. As we always say, if you aspire to acquire what you require and it backfires, never retire, but refire. So that was the journey that I went through. When I knew that this was something that was not going to be tough, it was not going to be something that was going to be very easy, I know that there were maybe some obstacles that would basically hinder my way. I learned and I realized that these obstacles are something that I should use as an opportunity to develop myself, and realize that as I go along the way, there are going to be more obstacles that are basically going to come. So to every lady that is here, to every woman that is here, aspiring in leadership position, do not see our structural barriers as something that is going to be an obstacle for you, but see as something that you can use to develop yourself and use it to be able to harness your full potential. So I don't know whether I should basically talk about the nitty-gritties of how I became the president of the University of the Gambia, because that is a very long story. If I want to share it here, we're going to spend the whole day. And I know you guys don't want to. But of course, I'll just give you a few of the things that are maybe the tips, or a few of the things that you feel might be very relevant for you. Like I did mention, it's a male-dominated society, and we usually go through a lot of things in this kind of situations. But I feel that the University of the Gambia was basically ready to try something new because for 17 years you've been having male leadership. And with the male leadership that we have seen in the country, maybe we have not seen it to be significantly, to have something significantly contributed to the development of the country. And you know, the University of the Gambia is the pillar, it's the foundation. And if the university is not ready to have a female leader, then it's something that we have to question at national level. So I feel that in the long run, we'll still have female presidents. Let us be very optimistic that someday we'll have female presidents because the university has basically grown. So everything out there, just be hopeful. And it's really funny because when I was running for presidency, when I told some of my friends that I want to go as female president, people told me that I am not ready to be in that position. I should not go for that because even if I run for presidency, I am going to lose. Because the result that they were giving was that my opponents, you know, are guys, and in the university, people vote for males. They don't look at they don't look at maybe whether you're competent or not. They just look at the fact that you are a guy, and when you are a guy, you are better to handle leadership positions. So it was a tough journey. Because initially, to be honest with you, I didn't have any, it was not something that I was really pushing for. It just came out as a joke. Because I've seen several other women that have run for positions to be president, and I knew that they were very strong, they were very competent. But because the society that we were in, the environment we were in was not really conducive for them to excel. So when I did this, when I informed some of my friends, they told me point blank that no, you should not go in for this. Because at the end of the day, you're going to waste your resources, you're going to waste your money, you're going to waste your time, you will miss lectures, and you are not going to win. So I remember that I was on Coast's first debate. The first show that she had on TV was us, the presidential candidates for the University of the Gambia. So that was the first show she had when she started the book out. And in those debates that we had with several media stations, you could realize that most of us had similar policies. But our differences were we had different ways of implementation. And I can remember again during the day of the caucus when we had the debate, that is the final debate where all the candidates come in with their supporters, with their fans, and we have the media there as well where we debate our policies, and we have the Independent Electoral Commission of the university and other observers come and question us about our policies. Some of the university students are here, they're laughing, they knew what we faced on that day. It was really a tough one. I had a question from one of the students saying that, how about if I lose the election? Am I still going to work towards the policies that I have, or am I going to just back out like how every other woman that I've contested and lost will back out? But I make this very clear to them, that when you are going in for leadership, you don't look at the position, you don't look at the title, you look at what you want to do for the students. Because if you're going in for something and you have an ulterior motive or a personal motive, then if you don't get that thing, you tend to lose what you could have done for the students. So I said it, I made this clear, that even if I lose, I am going to work with my contestants to achieve what we have planned to achieve, because we almost had several policies, because the same problems that we face in the University of the Gambia are the same problem I faced in my faculty at the School of Journalism. It's the same problem that all the faculties in the university basically face. So just to tell you this, that young people have a very crucial role to play, and as women, let us never see ourselves as as not a dominant. Let us not be seen as maybe we are not good enough to handle positions. We are not good enough to champion or lead changes. Now you take a look at the world.
Yes,
I take a lot, so
yes.
Sometimes I just continue talking.
Yes, we will have to come back to that. I know you are the first president, but I truly believe that you're not going to be the last. Seeing the freshmen at the University of the Gambia with the energy that they have, I know that you will have a predecessor when it comes to having a female president. I strongly believe. Yes, I strongly believe that.
I definitely want to see another female president at the University of the Gambia. Let us make sure that the next president we have is solely going to be a female.
Inshallah, we hope and pray. We hope and pray. Yes, we hope and pray. So let's move to entrepreneurship a little bit. The CEO of Laundry King. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. the challenges that you had to go through when it comes to your entrepreneurship journey, and what measures you used in order to overcome them, because I know there must be young people among us who want to be future entrepreneurs, and challenges always come your way as an entrepreneur. And talk to us about those challenges and how you were able to overcome those challenges as a young leader.
Hello everybody, my name again is Ichechi Okonko. I am the CEO of Victoria Crest Homes and Laundry King back there in Nigeria. So my career journey started about 8 years ago when I got into the banking industry. I was a young mom, a young wife, and I was pretty much stressed because in the banking industry it is an 8 to whenever job. It's whenever you finish your job, then you get to go home. But I usually saddled with a lot. So I was constantly stressed. We have a busy work day and a busy weekend schedule. And I realized that I wasn't the only one suffering this. A lot of all the other professionals and even the business people had this challenge because it's a very bubbly and urban city life in Lagos. Everybody is on the go, everybody is on the move, and it's just a lot to handle so many times. So I began to sit down and look at what I could do to change this pain, this frustration I felt at the time. I started looking at opportunities that I could explore and change the situation. So I looked at the major things that that I was doing that was stressing me, and it included that chore that people love to hate. Can anyone tell me? Yes. Also, a lot of people love to hate laundry, and it is one thing you cannot do without. No matter what job you do, you just have to come back home and have to deal with it. So I began to explore the idea of running a laundry outfit in Lagos. It was quite challenging because at the time I was still working, and it is not easy to access funds from the banks, especially when it's a startup. I was also not privileged to have a lot of mentorship because it's not a business where you have a lot of mentors who you can go to that can show you the ropes and help you, set up and start up without having to experience all those hiccups and all that. So I started out by myself with one staff with a bowl in my boys' quarters at that time. Just one guy, one bowl, and me as the customer service rep to pick up my delivery girl. Sorry about that. So I was also the chief accountant, the customer service rep, like I said earlier. I would go around, I would pick up clothes myself, I'll bring them back to the factory, the guy would do the cleaning, I would take them and I would return them myself. I had to keep the books, I had to do everything myself. Now, like I said earlier, there wasn't much mentorship, so I had to learn on the job. I had to make my mistakes and learn from them. I had to learn to keep my book. I had to learn to set structures around my business. It wasn't easy, but today Laundry King is 8 years old, and most of those things I can proudly say have been set in motion and is running perfectly well without me. Now I've moved on to ensuring that every young man or woman out there, no matter how small, no matter how little that roof is, gets a roof over their head. Because I ask you, we're saying not too young to lead. What dream would a young man or a woman be able to dream without a roof over their head? So it's very important that before you can envision or see what your future is like, or to lead other people, you're comfortable, you're able to at least have a roof over your head. So in Lagos, Nigeria, we're doing a lot in the low-cost housing, providing accommodation for the middle class to ensure that they are able to live and build their dreams. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. You talked about the fact that you weren't able to have mentorship. I always tell the recent generation that you're all lucky, including myself. I'm lucky because I have mentors. But during your time, you were able to have mentors. So we can do better because we have people to look up to. We have people that will guide us to tell you, step here, don't step here, there's fire here. You know? So I think because we have mentors, people who are guiding us, we should be able to do better. She's here doing extremely well, and nobody mentored her. She do it all by herself. So I just hope that you're mentoring other people, as long as you were unable to get a mentor on how are you doing it. How are you doing it?
I get to do, so for those who want to go into the laundry business, I get to do free trainings for them in my laundry, in my factory. And then for the real estate, I have a lot of mentees. So we gather, we talk, and explore the opportunities, and learn the rules. Because whichever way, you've got to learn it. So we do it together, they ask their questions, and we sort them out as we go.
Very inspirational story there. Thank you so much. Can we give her a round of applause for that? Next up, we'll go to Esther from Spain. She's the co-founder Innovax. I know this has to do with technology, am I right? And we know that in the Gambia here, I can use the Gambia as an example, we don't have a lot of women venture into technology. That gap when it comes to STEM, it's a lot. So why did you venture into it? What challenges are there to the extent that young women do not get into technology? Is someone still there? Because most of the time I ask these young women that you can get into STEM. I just feel like there's nothing stopping you. And seeing you sitting right there and you're a woman in STEM, please inspire them.
So thank you to invite me to stay here. And woman in technology is very strange, not only here in Spain and every country. I have traveled to United States with 52 women around the world, and it's a problem that happens in every city, in every country. And we have an academy to children to teach about technology, and we are also focused on girls because she are good on maths, on science, but she has to believe that she can. And also we have created a community of different women that try to visibility other women, create role models, and explain how is technology and that is you can do because it's the future.
So the question is, why do you think young girls run away from STEM? What is the reason? And why should young women venture into STEM?
I think that when we are a child, the culture is like technology is more for men and not for girls, and we have to do the girls. Not you are pretty, if not you are smart, you can do technology. So I think that not now, but in years the things are changing.
Okay. Do you have a success story when it comes to the fact that you are a woman in STEM? Do you have a success story that you want to share with us that will inspire some people, especially young girls who wouldn't want to venture into STEM?
Me personally?
Yeah, personally.
So when I started to industrial engineering, the degree, I didn't know a lot what I can do, but I love maths, and I say I try industrial engineering because it's more global and I see what I like. So when I started the degree, I see circuits and electronics that you have in your imagination things, but when you know about electronics, you can create it. So it's like the reason that I create my Inventor Academy to teach children that he has a dream or a thing and they can do a reality.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I just give a round of applause. We will get back to that very soon. So let's move to Zainab. I know Zainab is into designs, and I know that there's a lot of competition in Lagos when it comes to designs. So I would like to know how you are able to overcome that competition in there, as well as your journey as a young designer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zainab. I'm the CEO of Cobra Designs Limited. I'm an interior designer. I started my business 4 years ago in my home. And I can't say it's been easy, it's been a very tough one. Yeah, in Lagos we have a lot of decorators. I can't say we have many designers. And it's relatively new in Nigeria and Lagos, where I reside. And few people are beginning to embrace the need for interior designers in their home. So it wasn't so easy when I started this business. When I finished freshly from the Creative Academy, I was thinking, how was I going to be able to, launch into the markets? How do I get clients? How am I going to be able to, entice people enough to be able to, trust me to give me, their homes to do it. It wasn't so easy. But then, there's something I need you to understand. You have to be focused. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be able to understand that a calling from God is a calling. So for me, interior design, it's a calling from God. It's not something I just, ventured into suddenly. I studied business admin, that's my background. I studied business administration. And it wasn't like, I had any, what's it called now, special studies.
Yeah, you did not study
Yes,
interior design.
in interior design. So it was something that just came up. I had a flair for, unique things.
Yes.
I could pick out things easily, to merge things together to make it look, good. So it wasn't like I had that educational background.
Yes.
But then I decided to forge ahead to, get a study, to study interior design. So when I finished freshly from the academy, like I was saying, it was a case of how was I going to launch into this market, because it's difficult to get clients in Lagos. It's difficult for you to get people that you can. Well, I can say it's competitive.
Yeah, it is.
No, in Lagos.
It is not. When
In
it
Lagos.
comes to interior design.
No, it's beginning to, back then what we understood by interior design is different from what I studied.
Okay.
There's a difference between interior designing and interior decor.
Okay.
Interior designing is a study. You have to be able to study the human nature of whoever you're designing for. You have to be able to study the family, the different types of, there are different people in the family. What makes a family, the father, the mother, the children. What the father may like is different from what the son will like. What the wife will like is different from what the daughter will like. So you need to be able to understand these people and create an environment where they can thrive and love. So it's different from interior decor. They're two different things.
Okay.
Yes. So yes, I started my business and then I said, okay, fine. what do I create? How can I entice people? So I came up with my my stool. There's the stool we call Exo Stool. And then I designed that and then launched into the business. Funny enough, I had a few people who requested to have these pieces in their home. I didn't believe I was going to get clients, but I did. So from 1, 2, 3, it became common. It's like, you have a flair for this thing. Can you do up my home? And then I had the opportunity of having someone who trusted me enough to be able to take up the challenge. And then I did up a space, and then wow, that was how it started. And then I can say the social media has really helped in my business because I've been able to showcase most of my designs there, and that's how I evolved. So yes, it hasn't been easy. It's been tough. It has its own challenges, but I love it. The passion keeps me going.
Yeah, just quickly, for instance, if we have somebody in the audience who wishes to start a business very soon, what tips, just quickly, what 3 tips will you give that particular individual to be successful?
Number 1, you need to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you can't do it. Number 2, you have to be able to understand if it's a calling. Because a lot of people just dabble into things that, because my neighbor is doing it, I think I can do it. So you need to be able to understand if it's a calling. Then if it's a calling, then it will be easier. If it's not a calling, you might struggle a bit. So, and then that's 2. Number 3, don't give up. There are challenges in every business. Every business has a challenge. And then you're not going to have it rosy all the time. The storm will definitely come, but you need to be able to believe in yourself enough to say, yes, I can do this. And yes, you can. Just believe in yourself.
I just hope that all of you will take those 3 tips with you. I must confess that those 3 tips do not only apply for entrepreneurship, those 3 tips are life tips that anybody can use. So I think those 3 tips are just beyond entrepreneurship. Well, I must confess that I want to be an entrepreneur as well. Because recently I was saying journalism is not enough. We need to have skills. We need to be entrepreneurs and make a lot of money. I came to realize that apart from journalism, I need to start a business. So as young people, you don't have to say, she studied business management, and here she is. She's an interior designer. I can be a journalist and start my own little business. Maybe it's going to be a restaurant. I'm still deciding, not yet. Yes. So we have the next person, who is Karima Ranim, President, International Diplomacy Center. I think that's President, International Diplomacy Center. Can you just take us through your role as the President of the International Diplomacy Center, and what is the leadership role you have over there?
Thank you. I'm really thrilled and honored to be here in Gambia for the first time. Although for a short period, but I'm going to try to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's the smile.
My name is Karima Ranim. I'm from Morocco. I was born in Morocco, and I'm proud Moroccan, as you can see. But I'm a Pan-African by heart and by spirit. That's why I'm here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit my journey in Africa. I'm president of the International Center for Diplomacy, and it is a non-governmental organization I created in 2011. And basically, I wanted to share with you this experience because 2011, all the Middle East and North Africa was shaken by the Arab Spring, and there were protests all over the different countries demanding democratic changes. In my country also there were protests, mainly led by young people. I, as a young person, as anyone, wanted to be a change maker. I don't want to be a spectator of change, I want to be a real change maker. So what I decided is to group different expertise from different sectors mainly communication, diplomacy, and advocacy, in order to create an NGO that would actually contribute to the reforms that our king has launched in March 9, following the protest in Morocco. So we were all working with donor community and international organizations, and we said, why aren't we using our skills and expertise to benefit our country? So that was the core of the start of the International Center for Diplomacy, and it is an NGO that is specialized basically in capacity building, mainly for young people in advocacy, global leadership, and diplomacy. My relationship with Africa is a love story, I say, and I visited many African countries, and I discovered that there are a lot of talents in Africa, a country of what the rhetoric and negative stories that we hear all the time. But these young people need to be connected to possibilities. They need mentorship in order to unlock their potential and take initiative. What inspired me actually to work for African Affairs, I was nominated for an award in Tanzania back in 2017, and I was so inspired by how young people were leading a big summit, bringing about 300 young leaders from all across Africa, and I said, I should think of doing something back in Morocco. So actually, I created a concept called Africa My Home, and Africa My Home was inspired for me from our King's speech at the return of Morocco to the African Union, where he said that Africa is our home. It is our collective, duty to work for the development of Africa by Africans, with Africans, and for Africans. So we organized a summit in Morocco. We brought about 200 leaders from 42 countries, basically to discuss the implementation of the United Nations Agenda 2030, the African Agenda 2063, issues related to employment, migration, etc. And we did not want to have this as just a slogan of a conference. So now we are implementing Africa My Home, and I have created Africa My Home as a startup this month. So it's a newborn social enterprise that is specialized in providing coaching and capacity building for African youth in order to unlock their potential to own their own solutions. So maybe in the discussions I will tell you more about this experience. Thank you.
I just want to ask a question because I don't want us to go on and people are not inspired yet. Are we inspired so far? Yes. Are we? Yes. Okay, then I'm happy. Then we have to continue, right? Okay. So we have the chairman of the National Youth Council, who is Dembo Kambi. I think you can have the mic. Thank you so much, Dembo. Can you please talk to us about your work at the National Youth Council, and as well, how beneficial is the National Youth Council to young people of the Gambia?
Thank you so much, Yenaba. Let me first of all greet the honorable panelists that we have on the stage here. I think it is indeed a difficult task for me, being the only young among these bright young ladies of Africa and Europe to discuss and inspire young people to become leaders, but not only leaders, to become ethical leaders who are going to take charge of the development of this great continent of ours, the Africa. I am Dembo Kambi, as been introduced, the chairperson of the Gambian National Youth Council. Youth Council's role we can all remember in the early 90s to the late 90s, Gambia used to have what we call the Youth Week. And it was the last Youth Week in 1999 when our brothers, our mentors, the then youth leaders of this country called on the government of that time to give them a council that will supervise, coordinate, facilitate, and also advise the government on the issues of the young people. In 2000, the government responded through a bill called the National Youth Council Act. And that act established the National Youth Council in 2000. Since from that time, the National Youth Council has been on the move, working with partners and working with the government to serve as an intermediary between the government and the young people. Because basically, out of the mandate of the National Youth Council is to advise government, but it is also to take the government policies and programs to the young people. So as a result, when young people have their concerns, they cry for us. And their cries are taken to the government or to the authorities for redresses or actions. And when government also has issues or programs that are geared towards empowering young people and supporting the development of young people, they come through the National Youth Council, and so we communicate and share some of those policies or some of those activities that the government might want to implement.
Okay, so yes. So Dembo, I guess, today, for all the panelists, we're supposed to share success stories to inspire our audience. So can you just briefly tell us quickly, during your tenure as the chairman of the National Youth Council, 2 things that you were able to achieve for the Gambian young people? We take it from there.
Thank you so much. General, after my appointment as the chairperson of the Gambian National Youth Council, one of the key activities that I said that had to be the concern for my council was to ensure that we organize a successful NACON in 2017. Because I was appointed chairperson in July, and the NACON was supposed to be in December. And we have to launch the National Organizing Committee in September. And we work towards NACON. But before we go to NACON, we agreed that this year's NACON is going to be a different NACON from all other National Youth Conference and festivals. We agreed that we are going to develop the first country program of action on youth. And after that NACON, 3-4 months later, the Gambian GBA, which is now the development blueprint for all youth activities and youth programs in this country, was launched in this very hotel where we are. So that is one key achievement that we do as young people. And during the NACON too, some of the issues came out, like the issues of harmful practices on women or young girls. We came back, and I told the executive director and the team, my team of administrators at the office, that we must go all out to ensure that it might be difficult for us to eradicate the issues of gender-based violence and the issues of FGMC in our communities, but we can play our quota as young people. We also have the FGM campaign across the country. But we didn't stop at that. When we came, we also launched a Not Too Young to Run campaign program that was coordinated by one of our brothers here, who is Mr. Kevin, being one of the council members at that time. We talked to young people, we sponsored not like giving them fund, but we try to give them moral and technical support for those to take leadership role in our political discussion. Because oftentimes, young people cry foul for not being part of decisions that are made on our behalf. So as a result, we felt it's important for young people to go via those positions. And today, I can tell you for free that one of the most successful measures in Africa is a young person at the age of 32. He has changed the face of the Carnival municipality. We have young people in the National Assembly. I can say our National Assembly is dominated by young people. You go to the local government, that is the councillors, the ward councillors, we can authoritatively say that 50% of our local government councillors are all young people. Okay. So this is an achievement done by the Gambian National Youth Council to ensure that we empower youth, not to only be empowered, but for them to participate in the decision-making processes of this, our country, the Gambia.
Okay, thank you so much, Dembo. Dembo is helping us list some of these positions that Gambian young people are manning in the Gambia, but I still think there's room for improvement. Don't you think there's still room for improvement when it comes to young people taking the lead in the Gambia? Okay, then there's more room for improvement. I believe that, but anyway, time will tell. We'll see what happens. So we go, and then I must remind you that Dembo Kambi was representing Aya Chebi, who is the African youth, who is from the African Youth Convoy. So anyway, thank you so much for ably representing you here. So up next we have Katrina. I guess I've not been pronouncing your name right. Yes. Okay. Yes, I guess I've not been pronouncing the name right, but then I guess you will get to help me with that. I would also want you to talk about your leadership journey as a woman.
Thank you so much. Nakam, Gambia, Nakam, Nakam. Okay, hello. Everybody can see me? Yeah? Because they're all the camera people. Oh. Okay, we're all tired, we're all sweaty. But thank you so much for coming today. And I'm honored to be in the panel among all these wonderful people. Let's just give them one round of applause, right? We have two announcements. Number one, could kindly somebody bring the water to this part of the panel? It was like one part of the panel is vibrating, we're here dying. And number two, my dear wonderful lady in red, yes, you're sitting on my possessions. I'm sorry. Could you kindly change the chair, please? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Now when we are more relaxed and we go to water. Wonderful. We got it all. Perfect. Thank you. Guys, I have a question for you. I'm going to stand a little bit, then I'll sit. Yeah, because today it's a bit hot and you can see me better. Right, so first of all, guys, do you have a dream? Like, just like raise your hand if you have a dream. Who has a dream here? Do you have a dream? Yes? Yes? Lots of people. Everyone has a dream. Well, like anybody's story, my story started with a dream. Let's put it this way. My name is Ekaterina. You were close enough. Very close. Very close. Ekaterina is a Greek name, which comes from catharsis, the cathartic experience. But in English, I prefer Kate. I'll explain in a bit. So Ekaterina is Greek. However, I'm Russian, I'm Polish. How did it happen? Part of my relatives are coming from Poland. Part of my relatives coming from Greek. Well, my parents actually grew up in Mongolia. Well, that's a completely another story, and probably you don't know what Mongolia is, somewhere between Russia and China. Anyways, and I happened to be born in Russia just after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And you know what it means? It means a civil war. So I got to grow up when my father was going around with a gun because it was just, well, dangerous to be in the street. And definitely there were lots of people who were trying to set up businesses, yet trying to be entrepreneurs in those dangerous times because it was also time of opportunities. However, we all learned that big money can be a big danger, or can be even death, right? Because people were killing for money. That's why I totally get it when we talk about various situations, various countries, groups, where people are scared to set up their business because you don't know what are the consequences, right? So, is here somebody who's still not sure what kind of business to start? Like you're kind of like, you have dreams, but you're not sure. Yeah? Yeah, some people? Yeah, some people. That's fine. Because also, when I was growing up, I was good at many things, and I was bad at many things. So I was not sure, what would be the best. Yeah, that's fine, right? It's realistic, yeah? It's good. So, what happened, that when I was 14, 15, well, my grandpa helped me to go on one of the trips, like to Europe. Like, Russia, Poland, that's fine, but to go beyond and actually try to get immersed into another culture. That happened to be the UK. And we had to tour a little bit, like London, and then like around Europe, and like different countries, different languages. And what I should tell you, this opportunity that was given to me changed my worldview. Because since that time, during around a year, I was falling asleep with a dream. And I was dreaming of opening my own school of languages and cultures. Non-standard, not at all. Not like somebody is going to be like, yeah, now you're learning this text. Yeah, so if you're not telling me, well, out. Why? Because I also got this experience, horrible experience, of being taught by teachers and professors coming from, Soviet time, talking about people with their outdated techniques who would shout at me. And I really got traumatized when I was 4 years ago, when I was taught German. People were like, das ist how, how are you going to learn German? You're going to hate it. Anyways, so I got this dream, and I thought that like, when I'm in my 30s, I'm going to be like, director of the school. Well, to my surprise, when I was 21, things started happening. And imagine this, that when you are just like out of the uni, and you are interested in languages, you are in a different country, and then you start just stumbling upon opportunities, you realize, I actually can try out to form a group of tutors, like in my case. Yeah, I can try an incubator, an accelerator. What is an incubator? An incubator is a place where you can go, you can apply with your idea, and there are mentors who could help you, and potentially probably bring you to investors, right? There's accelerator for the next level. And so it happened so that I got selected with my idea to one of the incubators in London. Well, I was honored. I felt indeed privileged because there were 200 applicants and only 4 got selected. And then, one startup here in our incubator died. This happens, not a person, but a project. So 3 of us, right? And then it was an accelerator.
Yeah.
And this gave us the next level. This actually brought us to the point of global recognition. While we're still trying to do something, trying to play with tech, and again, as a girl in tech, this could be very difficult, as already Esther has told us. Well, suddenly we got recognized that among top 20 startups of the world. And what are you going to do with this? Because it comes so sudden that you're just not ready. Sometimes success can be also, too sudden. Anyways, what happens when you are developing your idea? Sometimes you might feel very tired, exhausted. Sometimes your health might be failing you. Sometimes your teammates, your co-founders, might just walk away, or you might just have a terrible fight, or whatever it is. You need to nurture resilience. Resilience wants more and more resistance. And another very important thing here, it's about your environment. Because I believe that if I hadn't had the right environment, both for my drinks, for starting the project, for developing it, it would have been just in my head, or it would have never happened at all, and I wouldn't have like dreamed of it. Therefore, look for like-minded people. Look around in this hall, look out for us, reach out, because now with technology online, we are all like borderless. And talk, share your ideas, share your dreams. Don't sit somewhere there in the corner and hide, saying like, oh, well, I have an idea, but I don't think that it's like worth of a try. Do it. Even if nobody supports you. I can tell you that just before starting properly the project, I was planning around as well, like with blogging also about languages and cultures. And my parents didn't support me at all, and the majority of my friends also. So even if this happens, don't get discouraged, because they will come around. Yes. And one last thing. Yes, thank you. I'm wrapping up. Okay. Guys, whatever happens, stick to your dreams. Like really, go and do. There are lots of different ways and methodologies how to test your idea, but do it, try it. And my motto is 3D, dream, decide, and do. Thank you. Thank you.
And my fellow young people who are here, the youth, when I was asked to give a statement here, as always, the first thing I did was to ask the organizer what he wanted me to talk about. Because I do this very often. I realized that there was no introduction of who I am. So please talk to my uncle. I'm sure all of you know my uncle. Do you? Oh, you do, man. Mr. Google. It's my uncle. So if you Google me up, I'm sure you know who I am. But by introduction, I am an African. I mean, born in the Gambia. In January, my business will be 30 years old. I started working at the age of 18. We're registered in 8 African countries, but very big in Nigeria. I see my fellow people here. I'm sure you're looking at my outfit and thinking, where is he from? There's a mixture, but I'm a Port Harcourt boy. I have the biggest development in Port Harcourt. So, just a matter of introduction. I'm sure the Gambians do know who I am. When I hit 60, I'm 62 now, when I hit 60, I thought about what I wanted to do with my life and decided that I wanted to give back. Now, giving back, I thought the best way of giving back wasn't my traditional zakat. If you are Muslim, you know what zakat means. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam, meaning 2.5% of your annual savings needs to be given away. That's actually one of the pillars of Islam, fundamental. But I decided to use this plus some of my money into giving back to the youth, developing the youth. Reason being, I've gone through the journey that all of you have gone through. Now, moving ahead, I formed a foundation. I have a foundation called the Africa Foundation. Fatih Jeng just said it now. She's coordinated it. And we have 7 different initiatives. I will not bore you with all of them, but I'll focus on one, which is the Tough Africa Leadership. So what we do, we try to mentor young people, into making them good leaders, leaders of tomorrow. In leadership, there's both the good and the bad. So you can be a bad leader or a good leader. So we mentor them to be good leaders. And we took 50 of them, Fatih is one of them, into the Leadership Academy, and we've taken 12 subjects. And they are being lectured by prominent Gambians, very well-known Gambians. Again, if you look at our website, TAFLA, you will see the names of the lecturers. But I will just quickly tell you some of the subjects that we lecture there. It is done monthly, once every month, and the subjects are futuristic vision, honesty, accountability, empathy, confidence, innovation, good communication, a good communicator, empowerment, decision-making, integrity, commitment, and passion. We thought about the values of leadership, and after a long debate, we thought that we should take one of each of these values and then give a lecture, then have an interactive session. Where in the last 3 months, it was started in January, so by end of this year, we will graduate 50 of these fellows. Now, our vision is to produce 1,000 of these leaders over the next 5 years. Gambian. Now, we've also committed, as I said, 1% of our global turnover into the foundation. So we fund our foundation. We don't reach out to the international community or anybody to put money into it. So that's what we do. Now, coming back to the theme of the day, when I went through, I saw the theme, not too young to live. I guess I must be the oldest in the room, am I not? I am, huh? I can hear that from the people on this side, huh? But you know, my name is Youth Man, but I've graduated to the Youth Park. I grew this when I came from Umbra this year. You know, so now I've graduated from being a youth man into a youth park. So I would like to challenge you. So I am on this side of the hall, being the eldest, and belonging to a bracket of the youth park. And you are the youth girls and the boys and the youth babies and the girls. So we are all youth. Now I want to challenge you because I don't totally agree with you. I totally disagree on the theme that says not too young to lead. Reason being, leadership is not about age. Leadership is not about race. Leadership is not about gender. Leadership is about getting the right values to lead. And once you get these right values, be it that you are a youth, or you are as old as we are, or you are female or a male, white or black, once you have these values, then you can lead. So the fact that there's now this campaign about getting young people to lead, I totally disagree. Now let me bring you closer to home, and let's look at our experience here. I'm so the Gambian pen, you've heard this from me before, that's Mr. Salad. And let us look at Gambia as an example. Our example is that we have only had youth who have neighbors. We have never had somebody about the age of 60 who's led this country. So we have given you youth the chance. Sadala Kairaba Jawara was the first prime minister, was the first president. He assumed office at the age of 38. So he was young. Dr. Professor Yaya Ebele Dame took power at the age of 29. He was a youth. His vice president was 24. The whole council, he was the eldest at 29. Our latest president, he was the eldest of them all, and he was only about 50 or 51. So really, this claim about the youth asking for leadership, you better give us a chance now. But we've never met. And leadership comes with responsibility. I have been where you are. I started working at the age of 18. I have been to 36 African countries. So I am more experienced than you are. Some of you have never traveled. So what gives you the right to lead me? Why should I take a back seat and allow you to be in front? If I do so, you must have the right qualities. And these qualities are values, and I want to go through these values. Once I listed 12 of these values, I just want to pick on 5. 5 of them. Now the 5 are, 1, somebody said, vision. A leader must have a vision. A leader without a vision will never perform. And a vision is a dream. That if you are in front of us, every leader has followers. You have a crowd that's behind you. Like today, if I stand here and we're praying, you are my followers. I am leading. So you are behind me. So I must have something that you don't have. And that's what we expect from every good leader. So every good leader must have a vision. If you don't have a vision, you cannot be a good leader. So bear that in mind. Secondly, then you must have a strategy. After having the vision, and my vision is, some of you would know, at Tap Africa Global, we have a vision to develop 1 million affordable homes across sub-Saharan Africa. And that's what took me to Nigeria. Because in Nigeria, the population is 200 million. So people ask me, but you're just from Gambia, 2 million people. What are you doing in Gambia, in Nigeria? I said, look, when I go hunting, I will not go if I'm looking for meat or for beef. I'm not going to run after the rabbits and the squirrels. I go for the elephant, and the elephant is in Nigeria. So it just makes sense. So I went to Nigeria, you know, and we are almost at the end of delivering what is a $160 million housing project. In Port Harcourt, in the Nigeria. So that was my vision, and that is still my vision, that we need to deliver 1 million homes over the next 20 years. So obviously, once you have a vision as a good leader, your vision should lead beyond your life. That's what a good leader does. I hear very often our political leaders across Africa, when they try to change their term limits, what excuse do they give us? Oh no, my program haven't finished yet, so that's why I want to extend it. That is not good. What you do, you have a vision and you hand over the baton. A vision and leadership is like running a relay. You do your own bit, hand over the baton, somebody takes it. When you end, when there's an end, there are 4 winners. Each of you will have a medal. But you cannot go through everything. And that's the mistake that we see today, that our African brothers want to always change the constitution, extending their terms, you know, to complete their programs. That's one vision. Now the strategy. Once you develop your vision, then the next is the strategy. Your strategy is then you think about, you lay out your plan. How am I going to implement this? Bring it closer to what we do, then you start thinking, okay, in Nigeria, there is a deficit of 17 million homes. So now I am interested in getting into the richest state in terms of money over. The second richest, which is Port Harcourt, they can afford it. 2, the OICs are there, meaning the oil and gas companies are there. So then you lay out your plan. How are you going to get in there? How friendly is the government? We are specialized in PPPs. We do public-private partnership. So the government gives me the land, I go and raise the money, then I build. So you work out your plan. When I did carpentry at a young age, they used to tell me, measure twice and cut once. You plan. So you young ones should learn this. There's nothing like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship you don't learn in classroom. I disagree. Today they teach it. I teach it a lot in universities. Oh, I'm going to teach entrepreneurship. It's like getting a young man, John Keba, say, oh, I want to be the Messi. You have to have skills. You have to start somewhere. And that's how you develop to be an entrepreneur. So you plan. So planning is key, and that's the strategy that you develop. After developing your strategy, what do? You execute. Now, based on your plans, that's another value that you should have. You know, you implement. Implementing your strategy. All well thought about. But when you implement your strategy, it's always not a straight line. You know, I'm sure those of you who do maths, there's a theory that says the shortest distance between 2 points is what? What is is it? A straight line, but life is not like that. The solid distance between 2 points can be as crooked as you name it and very long. Because you face obstacles. So when you're doing this, you implement your plan. Once you implement your plan, you will go through obstacles. So the next value that you need to have as a leader is courage. Because you're going to face challenges. Because you're going to take risks. As a leader, you must take risks. If you're scared of taking risks, don't lead. You won't ready to die. I tell politicians that look, when you are vying for the office of president, you know what they should look for? 3 outfits. You know the 3 outfits? 1, get your 7 yards of mazen that they will wear you, or your suit that they put in your coffin. That's number 1. A politician in Africa, you must take this and put it in your life. So then you must be ready for it. If you're not ready for it, don't challenge anybody in Africa. I've seen it all, I've been all around Africa. 2, get a very nice suit. Because yes, you can win and be there. The 3rd one, make sure you have your prison cell ready. They will lock you up. So let's do this together. If you look at it in Africa, how many people have lost their lives vying for the main office? We've seen it. So it's part of it. If you are scared of death, don't run for the number 1 citizen. Number 2, if you don't want to go to prison, don't run. Number 3, obviously, all of us, the best what we want is to have a nice suit, or a nice agbada, or a nice ladies outfit to sit there. So you must be ready to take risks, and have a lot of courage. Somebody mentioned it here, that you must not give up. And people do ask me a lot of times, everybody thinks that, oh no, he's just been successful, he's made it, when they hear the millions. But I keep telling them that my failures are much more than my successes. I failed so many times, but I get up and I move on. So please have courage. The last one is integrity. A leader must have integrity. And that's what's lacking today in our world of leadership. And leadership, by the way, questioned leadership. It's no longer only in Africa. We're seeing the order of the day. I don't call the names, but those that we look up to, they are in a leadership crisis. We're seeing it. Serious global leadership crisis. It's not only about Africa anymore. But we must have integrity. Within integrity is honesty. You must have honesty within yourself. You must have a conscience. If you don't have conscience, you cannot be a good leader. So I don't want to prolong this. I am very time conscious. I was given 15 minutes to talk. I am sure we will network. We will talk to each other. I am pleased to be here. I do this very often. I am by profession a builder, but these days I am a talkative. That's all I do. But I think I've earned the right to talk to you, because most of you who are here are like my nieces, nephews, daughters, sons. My youngest daughter is 21 now. I am a granddad. So I think I owe it to you to guide, to share our experiences. And that is why I have now taken my passion in dealing with the youth. Because without guidance, you will miss the way, you will make mistakes. But my advice, please be patient. Rome was never built in a day. What I see most of the time with you young people, you want to run before you can crawl. You can't. I started my business when I was 23. I worked for 15 good years. I worked as an engineer's assistant, I worked as a draftsman, I worked as a land surveyor, I worked as a project manager, I worked as an assistant general manager, then I worked as a general manager before I set up my own business. But I am shocked at times when somebody at the age of 21, 22, 23, freshly graduate, comes to me and I am a CEO. How can you be a chief when you haven't even started? So on that note, I thank you very much. I thank the organizers, the Pan-African Leadership Forum, and again, blaming the youth. I am very savvy on social media. I am surprised there's no hashtag on the program. So here is the youth now claiming there's the youth forum. Well, you don't even have a hashtag. Because where is it? It's not visible. So you see, the first thing I do is I want to tweet. Because I'm on Twitter. I have a like following. LinkedIn, I have 31,000 followers. I'm on Facebook. Actually, I have a staff around me who only work on my social media. Because that's the world. I mean, I see some of you are from the Maghreb. Have you guys quickly followed Salt Bay? You know Salt Bay? The guy who throws the salt on the lip like this, Turkish, yeah. Google it up. You see all the young men are looking like this. Where are you? You don't know Salt Bay? No threat? He's Turkish. Please, by the time you get out of here, Google him up. He started a restaurant, like in an old local language, what they call Afra, in Turkey. Nosret, N-U-R, write it down. N-U-S-R-E-T. Otherwise, Salt Bay, S-A-L-T-B-A-E. He started, I think, in 2010 or 2012, and all he does is grilling meat in Turkey. Guess what the business is worth today?
Yes.
It's worth $1.5 billion. You know what really boosts up his business? Social media.
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. He has millions of followers. So don't joke with social media. So I am shocked that I walked into a program like this, looked around everywhere on the banner. I don't see any hashtag, and yet I'm in a youth forum. So please improve on that. On that note, Gambian they are queer. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, very well. I'm happy to be here in the Gambia today to participate in this discussion. And I also am very happy and pleased to speak about something I do, my own life, for the time being, to lead the fight against corruption in my country. As we all are aware, our countries have enormous potentials, people, resources, and vision, things that can take us to the next level. However, Africa remains one of the really difficult terrains in terms of governance, in terms of development, in terms of transformation. We are still a little bit, save for a few sub-countries, we are still lagging behind the rest of the world. I believe firmly, and I believe young people believe, that one of the reasons why Africa is where it is corruption. So, as Africans, we have to develop ideas that can transform Africa to put it in the right direction and trajectory for change and development. And one of those outfits that the rest of the world recommended to the developing countries is to develop anti-corruption outfits, particularly in the mid-90s, going on to the year 2000, many anti-corruption agencies developed. The Gambia, I am surprised to learn that the Gambia does not have an anti-corruption outfit. But many countries in Africa, majority of the countries in Africa have some form of anti-corruption outfit that is responsible for fighting corruption. We in Sierra Leone established ours in the year 2001, and it has always been there. But what I want to share with you is what young people did in Sierra Leone. Just over a year ago, there was an election. And after the election, a new president won. And Sierra Leone, like most African countries, have a huge youth population. 60% of the population is youth. These young people then said to the president, look, we have voted for you. You have what? We know you have your own agenda, you have what you want to do. But we young people want to own the fight against corruption. So, young people everywhere, social media, in meetings and discussions, conversations with the president and other people, then said, the only way we can own the fight against corruption is to have somebody who represents our generation to be the commissioner. And that is how they made the representation to the president. By then I was studying in the US. They told the president that the person we want to lead the fight against corruption is Francis Kaifala. True to that, the president then appointed me. I was called upon, I finished studies in the US, I came back to the country, and the president appointed me. I went through parliament and became commissioner. And let me tell you what has happened. Today, if you have somebody who is in Sierra Leone, speak to them, ask them what is happening with the fight against corruption. In the MCC control of corruption, just over a year ago, we were failing with 49%. Today, we are 71%. In all indices, Barometer, government effort in the fight against corruption, citizens' perception for the fight against corruption was as low as 19%. Today, it's as high as 66%. Citizens' belief in the fight against corruption was as low as 43% just 1 year ago. Today, it is over 70%. Why I am giving you the statistics is to tell you that after young people own the fight against corruption in Sierra Leone, there has been considerable transformation. The citizens' belief in the fight against corruption has increased. What we have done is basically make corruption a high risk and low return venture. Today in Sierra Leone, you must be very brave to touch government resources. Because the powers of the commissions are great, they are in the hands of young people, and we have shown the people of Sierra Leone how to fight corruption. You can be arrested, you can be detained, you could be tried, you could be named, you could be shamed. That is what, when young people agitate and desire for something to happen and push for it, that is what happens. And I'm very happy to be leading that in my country. I'm very happy for the young people putting faith in me and for the president appointing me to lead that fight. So that's what I want to share with Gambia. You young people have to step up and claim that very important aspect of the life of the Gambian people. Because if you fight corruption, it is easier to redirect the destiny of your country. Thank you.
I believe young people in the Gambia as well will get to push for that. Babakan Kebe, Executive Director, Gambia Youth Chamber. Gambia Youth, yes, can I have that? Yes, Gambia Youth Chamber. Gambia Youth Chamber of Commerce, Executive Director, Gambia Youth Chamber of Commerce, Babakan Kebe. I would like to know what the importance is for the establishment, for the... I would like to know what the importance is for the establishment of the Youth Chamber of Commerce, because some people might wonder why the establishment, why its existence, as long as we already have the GCCI, why is it important to have a youth aspect of that?
Thank you very much. Good evening to all the audience here. Let me say the call for the establishment of the Gambian Youth Chamber of Commerce came from NECON 2014 in Eraba, where over 2,000 young Gambians gathered. We call it NECON, the National Youth Conference and Festival. And one of the components of NECON was an entrepreneurship. And these young people called on the organizers and the government and as a resolution to say that we need an enterprise house that really stands for the voice and represent young people. That really talk about the issues of young people at government level, that deals directly with private sector, that deals directly with ministries responsible to advocate for startups, to advocate for seed money. But there was a time when we talked about the issue of having a national youth development fund in the Gambia. This has been seen in every corner of the country and they never came. So we wanted to bring a body that will actually push to really support young people to have startup capital to move on. Of course, GCI was present, but GCI at the time, we realized that there have not been a single activity that have passed through the those days, and we have huge chunk of our provincial young people who are really marginalized and have no access to some of these opportunities within the Greater Banjul. So subsequently, the Youth Chamber came in to probably complement the efforts of what GCI is doing and moving forward to support young entrepreneurs in the regions. So as we speak, we have a fully fledged youth Chamber of Commerce and has 4 rural chapters in West Coast, UR, CR, and Nordberg. And these are young people living there, supporting one another to establish their own enterprises in the Gambia. So this is what we've been doing. When we started in Woodstock, we volunteered. I remember sometime we had to ride bicycles to really deliver letters. We walk kilometers to reach out to offices to really get things going. The first institution that came to support was the National Youth Council and the National Enterprise Development Initiative that hosted us to kickstart. Then we have the ITC, the International Trade Center, that was the first international organization that came to the Gambia for a scoping mission and had a meeting. And they gave us a test and gave us about 100 and something thousand to start a youth exhibition to test the skills we have. And we had, when we went this to start at the Youth Monument at Westfield, we only wanted to get 40 people, and we ended up having 200 people really wanted to take part. So that just shows the readiness of young people for not having the opportunity, and that's where we really kick-started. And as we speak, we are working with over 4 international organizations. We are sitting at the Ministry of Trade, working with government and their standing committee to represent young people and take decisions on behalf of young people of this country. Thank you.
I'm so excited that when you were starting this particular organization, what you had in mind was young people in rural Gambia, because you did mention that the activities of the GCCI did not pass Vietnam. And I believe that inclusion is the way forward, having to bring in rural young people, because, I mean, they are also young people. Every youth matters. That's what I stress all the time. Every young person matters. It doesn't, where you are from does not count. It's about the fact that you are a young person. So thumbs up for putting rural youth into consideration. I'm so excited about it. Yes, so next up we'll have Louise Martin. I mean, you're principal co-founder. So talk to us about your journey and what it takes to be a leader, what it takes to handle such a mission and have success stories.
Okay, first of all, thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about our project. And the second one is sorry about my English because it's very bad. I will try to do my best, but I don't know. I am Luis from Spain, and I am part of a technological association in my city, Zaragoza. We are 6 members. We have been working 7 years teaching coding, programming, and technology to children from 3 years. After that, we decided to create our own startup. We dream a family of robots to teach coding from the age of 3. We decided to create this strategy to manufacture our product, and now we are doing it, and we will launch our product in December. With this family, we want to bring technology to near to girls and boys, because we think that technology is the main tool that they will need to live in this world. We are not working about create a hard algorithm or know how to create robots, but we think that in this world, children must to understand how the things work. The technology, the light, the electricity, the mechanics. So we decided to improve their knowledge, creating products to help them. If you want, Esther, give me the robot. I will show you this family of robots. There are 4 members. We have here 2 of them. This one. This is a simple robot without this part in the head, and the children can put 2 pieces in.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry, they are hard, strong. They can put the pieces in their head, and they only can put a piece of if, the condition, and other of them, the reaction. For example, you can put in the door of your room, in a program. If your mother go to your room, you have an alarm to know that she wants to enter the room. And there are hundreds of possibilities, thousands of pieces in their head, because it has sensor, temperature, humidity, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, a lot of actuator, vibration, sounds. So this is only the tool. All the people in Spain say, I don't know here, but in Spain say that children are the future. We know that children are the future, but we think that they will create the future. And they need tools to change the world, so we decided to create this robot and other tools to help them to lead this new world. Thank you very much.
That is a brilliant initiative. So next up, we will have to go with the CEO, Crystal Digital Network Solutions. This has to do with technology. With the previous panel, I did ask a question concerning the gender gap when it comes to technology. So as male, it will be good to ask you about why that gender gap, and if you're doing any form of mentorship for young girls or women to bridge the gender gap when it comes to STEM.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to say a very big thank you to the organizers of this event. I wasn't so sure I was going to speak at this panel,
okay.
But it's fine.
All right.
Yeah. For me, I would answer your question, but let me just say a story and tell people, because I was speaking to the young ones, and we're also young. Let's tell people what I think they should hear. I've been in business for about 10 years. Still very young, just in my early 30s. But I must tell you, I have failed so many times. When I'm called to speak at several events, and they read my profile and everything, I always think that they're not telling people exactly what it is, because people think that this person coming up has just had it all rosy, which is not correct. Now, I was seated there, and I've heard, several beautiful speakers, the ladies, and I've also heard the guest speaker, Mr. Clark, who has spoken extremely well, extremely well. As a matter of fact, I think this event to me, from what he has said, it's a blessing to me, because I have to write a few things. But let me tell you my journey, my success journey in the last 9 years. So for me, I went to a public school in Nigeria, and I wanted to further my education outside the country. And I had gone to a school that, as at the time I left school, it was about 100 years old. One of the most prestigious high school in Nigeria. But I went back to the school. I needed my transcripts. And getting to the school, unfortunately, the school, as old as over 90 years, could not present to me that transcript. And it was a major issue. Now, fast forward some years after that time, I'd gone to school, I returned. I decided to put my fingers in several things. But the Lord, like I said, did work. Then I remember that there was a gap that I promised myself that I was going to fill. Not only that I wanted to fill the gap, but also because it just fell in line with what I was doing at that time, technology. So I went back to my high school. Like I said, it was a public school. It is a public school. And for entrepreneurs in a place like Nigeria, and I think it's a general thing in Africa, entering public places, federal government, state government, you just need to know something. That's the norm. I don't know if that's what happens here, but back home in Nigeria, that's usually that's what happens. You must know somebody. But I went in there with just one focus. I had a big plan, and my plan was that I was going to build a solution, and the solution was going to cater for all of the federal government colleges in Nigeria. But as at that time, if I had told a lot of people who had ran to execute the way I should, which is actually go to the federal government, write a proposal, know somebody in presidency, or know somebody in the Ministry of Education, then get the contract, it would have been very difficult. I mean, it was very unrealistic. But the idea, the vision was clear to me. So I told myself, this is value on the table. Then I went to the school, I built this solution, I gave it to them free of charge to use for 2 years. Now, this solution I gave my high school to use for 2 years. Within the first year of their usage, they had spoken to a couple of other federal government colleges, and before the end of that year, I had over 10 schools that was already running on this solution. Now, don't forget, when I was going into the high school, it was free of charge for my school, but when they were, externalizing the solution, they had to pay. So it became a money spinner for me. Like I said, it's a plan, it's a vision and a dream that I had, that I wanted to populate this in the whole of the federal government colleges. There are about 104 of them. Now, as of today, to cut the whole long story short, I'm currently in all of the federal government colleges in Nigeria, and it just didn't happen. It was because I knew what I wanted, and I knew the strategy in which I used in entering. It's not a sector that is very, very easy to penetrate, and if you're in Nigeria, you will have an idea of what I'm talking about. So, but I'm just saying this to charge a young person here who is also thinking that there is this thing I want to do, but I don't know how to go about it. I'm just telling you that this story might be that story that will charge you up. But now I think, let me have a conversation. I think on what I think the young person should know. In Africa, we're about 1.2 billion. And if you look at Europe, because here we're having a bilateral conversation of two continents, Africa and Europe. Europe, I think there are about 740 something or 750 million people. If you look at the trend of what technology is doing, before now, Silicon Valley used to be the biggest donor of startups. They used to give a whole lot of that. But if you look at what is going on in the last 1 or 2 years, that trend has moved to Europe. Now you have a database of about 500 billion people having access to funding from the EU, and the GDP I think is about 25,000 euros per capita per person in Europe. Now, but that's not where I'm just trying to say that just for you to have an idea. Now, the Bureau of Statistics already told us that by 2050, African youth would form the biggest number of youth in the world. Now, it's a very, very major issue for me when I think about this thing. And the reason why I said it's a major issue is because we've all been here, we've been discussing power. I think power here is so irrelevant. Power here, I came in, I was hearing we need to take power, we need to not be young. What's our business with taking power? Why not making changes? If you must take power, there's just one tool you need, and that tool is technology. Growing up for me, our parents used to think that you're going to school, you must read that medicine, accounting, law, but all those are obsolete now, and I must tell you, and all those jobs will no longer be relevant. I'm telling you, you can Google the future jobs. You're not going to see anything like doctor, like medicine, like so. And the earlier we start to realize this, the better for every one of us. Also because it's already said that by 2050 we're going to have the future. Some people took deliberate steps before now, and they are ruling the world. Just go and see what they're doing in America, the Amazon of this world, the Google, the Microsoft. They only understood the environment. Now they are ruling the world. This is a very good avenue. And each time I'm called to speak, I always like to tell the younger ones that you need to get yourself correct. You need to know what you're doing. Forget about all of these lovely conversations, but you need to know where you're going.
Okay, I guess, yes.
It is very...
We need to know where we're going.
It is very, very important.
Yes.
I know you're trying to stop me up now. Yes. Let me round up. So for me, it's very clear. Technology is the future. And I always say it, if you want to function in that future, you need to have the right skills to be relevant in the future. Thank you very much.
Revive the spirit of the real leaders of Africa, the Nkrumahs, the Patrice Lumumbas, the people that they malign, they call them dictators. God bless them. The more dictatorial they are, the better. I'm glad Kagame is still here and they clap on. He's a dictator, I said it. But they need all that female quality of compassion of people who have suffered too much. We need courage backed with compassion. That's the kind of leadership I'm looking forward to, and I am hoping that our sisters will provide that because they are outdoing it us in every sphere. Look at the exam results of every country. In the Gambia, we know it. Patujang was competing with Jay Sonko for the leadership of one of the greatest schools in this country right now, Nusrat. That's after Gambia High School, by the way.
Okay.
But I mean, when we talk about leadership on this continent, and I'm glad Taf said this, you know, I don't know why we always debate noir. Everything bad is black. It's African. The leadership crisis in this world, you know where is the headquarters? White House and 10. At least we should be role models now. You're looking for leadership? Don't look too far. Thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, give it.